In every place in which I was consulted, I found that I was gifted with the peculiar facility of seeing, almost immediately, the way in which it might be improved. And I only wanted the means of making my ideas equally visible or intelligible to others. This led to my delivering my reports in writing, accompanied with maps and such sketches as at once showed the present and the proposed portrait of the various scenes capable of improvement. And the effect produced by my invention of the slides made the sketches interesting. Others prefer still life. I delight in movement. Armley House is an exception to most villas. The command of its annexed property and of manorial rights over and under the former common lands give it a degree of territorial importance beyond that which a villa generally possesses. The respectability of a country residence is often more visibly denoted by its mass of woods than by the style of the mansion. Now, from the mass of wood along the ridge above Armley Mill, and the hanging wood from the house to the canal, and the manner in which they are combined in perspective, the distant effect of Armley House is that of an important residence, rather than that of a mere villa, and this effect is worthy of being increased by proper attention. The sketch number 1 will explain the distant effect of such a line of wood, supposing it to be viewed from various parts of the several roads from Leeds. The woods, now disjoined, will be connected by the sweeping line of plantation. Sketch number 2 is supposed to be taken from the bridge on the road to Kirkstall, and shows the effect of the lines of wood proposed and marked out on the spot. As this is the north side of the place, I have represented it in shadow, and to increase the effect as a picture under the circumstance of a lowering sky. In landscape, no distant object can be represented but by the contrast of those nearer the eye, and the latter may change at every step we take. In the modern practice of landscape gardening, there is no circumstance that seems to have produced so much error and absurdity as what is technically called the approach, which means the manner in which that space of ground is to be passed over that divides the house from the public road. Formerly, indeed, it was a line drawn by rule, and, of course, the shortest. If the road, after quitting the valley, enters a wood, it will increase the imaginary extent of the place by sharing it partially and displaying scenery by degrees. When the road comes near the house, it ought to approach it centrally, because it is justified by the symmetry of such a building. The principal views from Armley House may be confined to that towards the east. We must therefore embellish the landscape by every improvement of which it may be found capable. These I shall consider technically under 3 distances of the painter, viz. the foreground, the landscape, and the off-skip, beginning with the latter. The off-skip, the part of the landscape that recedes into the distance, consists of the busy town of Leeds, softened by its misty vapour, and the bold rising ground beyond it, in which, in a clear atmosphere, becomes an interesting background to that part of the picture over which the landscape gardener has no power. However, the landscape painter may harmonise it with the sky of his picture. The landscape, or middle distance of this scene, consists of water and buildings, richly accompanied by wood. The prominent feature of this scene is the large building, which at such a distance can never fail to be an interesting object in daylight, and at night presents a most splendid illumination of gaslight. I am now to speak of the foreground of this picture, consisting of the lawn, which falls so rapidly from the eye that its whole surface is almost lost by being foreshortened, even with the help of the sheep, supposed to diminish in size as they recede in perspective. But since so small a portion of the foreground is in our power to be improved, we must endeavour to enrich it by a terrace with flowers and balustrades, which will become a source of ornament and comfort to the whole of the east front, as well as the frame worthy of this picture. Armley House, as a mere villa, requires no alteration, but as a family residence it will be found very defective because it actually consists of only 2 good rooms, one over the other, and the offices are disjoined by being placed on opposite sides of the house. The general outline of Armley House as a centre and 2 wings is good so far as it relates to proportion, but the detail of the several parts by which it is meant to be enriched is so incorrect that it looks like the work of an ignorant country builder after the design of a more experienced architect, and maybe be compared to a good story told in ungrammatical language. I do not advise the ornaments of columns or pilasters to Armley House, yet it might be greatly improved by the decoration of architraves and dressings to the windows and balustrades, which, properly applied, are among the most elegant enrichments of architecture. Since it is possible to carry the English taste for what is called simplicity to excess, as much as that taste for over-decoration with which the French architects are apt to overload their designs. At the back of the small cottage near the entrance gate, there are some tenements on the bank. By removing only a malt house of little use, great improvement in the scene may be produced without much expense. At present, Armley House may be said to be about 3 miles distant from Leeds, but that distance is very precarious and will daily become less and less as the increasing prosperity of the town daily increases its dimensions and brings it nearer and nearer to the spot under our consideration. A circumstance not to be disregarded when we reflect on the change so recently produced on Mr. Blade's house, another house nearby Leeds, which was lately in the country, though it is now surrounded by streets and other houses. The customs and habits of mankind are perpetually changing, and however we may affect to despise the innovation of fashion, it is impossible long to resist its influence. The great world of London must be copied at the distance of 200 miles. We must live like the world, and with it, while we live in it.